Yes, people, Spurs all-time 11 from last Thursday. Again, if you guys didn't check it out, make sure you go and check it out. It's on the channel with myself and Fitz. But again, if you guys was there, then big up yourselves each and every time. But in actual fact, the team we actually went with, we actually went with a 3-5-2, you know. And to be fair, Tottenham had a lot of attacking players that, you know, it was difficult to fit in, you know. But I think the best way that we could have, you know, done that team is by playing a three at the back. So the 3-5-2 we went with, you know, I think the attackers definitely outweighed the defenders. So we went with a back three. Well, first of all, actually, in goal, we went with Hugo Lloris. I think Hugo Lloris might be, is he probably their most successful captain? I mean, yeah, captain or goalkeeper. I think he's definitely the most talented keeper they've had. So, yeah, he was in goal. And the back three, we actually went with a back three of controversial Sol Campbell in the middle of the back three. Toby Alderweireld on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, we went with Ledley King. Now, for me, Ledley King is one of England's best defenders they've produced. You know, I think the thing that went against Ledley King, obviously, was his injuries. But Ledley King, for me, would have been right up there with the likes of John Terry, Sol Campbell and Rio Ferdinand, easily. He was that good, but injuries just obviously meant that his career was cut short. But the back three of Campbell, King and Alderweireld for balance, which meant that the likes of Jan Vertonghen, I think Gary Mabbott might have got a shout in there as well. Those guys missed out. So I think those three for me, definitely Ledley King and Sol Campbell, even though, you know, Sol Campbell did go to the rivals, Arsenal, had to be in there. Now, this is where it gets interesting because the midfield we done, you know, was difficult. You know, Tottenham have had some great midfielders like Rafael van der Vaart, you know, the likes of, I forgot his name now, Vinny Samways as well is another one you could mention. But I think in terms, Michael Carrick is another one as well. You can even put Scott Parker in there. But I think for me, it had to be the mixture of Luka Modric, Moussa Dembele, and then Paul Gascoigne in the 10. And for me, Modric for me is one of the best midfielders of his generation. You know, probably one of the best midfielders to play the game. And again, Modric went to another level when he went to Real Madrid. But at Tottenham, you know, if anyone remembers, he actually started off playing on the as a left midfielder, and then transitioned for Tottenham to be playing central. But what a player he was! He had to be there for me. And Moussa Dembele for me. He's one of the most underrated players I think in that the Premier League's seen. Because Moussa Dembele, you know, if anyone remembers, he used to play for AZ Alkmaar as a striker, and then he went to Fulham, and I think he played there for Fulham, and then Fulham started dropping him, I think, a bit deeper to play as a number 10, and then him going to Tottenham as a central midfielder. I don't think anyone see that happening. But what a player he was, man. As I said, he's probably one of the only opponents that I have seen Paul Pogba, you know, not absolutely dominate. And that says a lot because Paul Pogba is the best midfielder of his generation. And Moussa Dembele, man, was the top player, man. And he doesn't get his flowers he deserves. So he went with Dembele and Modric partnership in midfield. And again, a lot of that, well, I say a lot of the team, the majority of the team is from the Pochettino era, you would say. And that just speaks volumes for how good that team was back then. And then Paul Gascoigne in the 10, which speaks for himself. You know, Paul Gascoigne, one of England's most talented players. You know, one of Spurs' best players as well. And obviously, I said we went with him as a number 10. And then out wide, you know, this is where it's special for me because you've got, for me, one of the best players to play in the Premier League. You know, one of the best players that the UK has produced. I actually think in terms of Gareth Bale, I think he's probably the UK's best player they've produced. You know, it might be a conversation for another day, but Gareth Bale, man, was a top player. And when you go to Real Madrid and, you know, you stand out as one of their top players, it's not an easy thing to do. And that's a team that had Ronaldo, Benzema, Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, Ramos, Marcelo. They had stars all over the place. And Bale was definitely one of them. You know, so Gareth Bale was on the right-hand side. And then on the left was David Ginola. You know, David Ginola, one of the most talented players to play in the Premier League. You know, both footed, and obviously, you know, he is right footed. Some people might have thought he's left footed, but yeah, what a player David Ginola was, man. What a player he was. You know, 6 foot. You know, silky touch. You know, great dribbler. As I say, can shoot off both feet. You know, the only disappointment really is that he didn't get. I'm not sure if he got any French caps, because he definitely was more than talented to get some. You know, but I can't actually remember if he got any French caps. But what a player he was. And then the two strikers, guys. This is where this was hard to pick, because, you know, we were debating between 4 players in the end. You know, and the 4 we were debating around was Jermaine Defoe, Harry Kane, Jurgen Klinsmann, and Dimitar Berbatov, which meant the likes of Teddy Sheringham, Peter Crouch, who else was there? Robbie Keane, and I think there might have been one more missed out, yeah. But again, that 4 there, you know, it was difficult. So we actually went with a partnership. What partnership would probably work better? So Jurgen Klinsmann was a clinical striker, and we paired him with Dimitar Berbatov. So it's like Berbatov was the silky man with the touch, the target man, and Klinsmann could play in and around him. And we went with the other one with Harry Kane, the same thing, as a Berbatov type, and then Defoe as the one that would buzz around, in a sense, you know, playing the shoulder. And again, it was difficult, because I think Fitz actually said out of the 4, he was choosing Klinsmann, yeah. And for me, it was difficult, but I would have probably just said Harry Kane probably. And again, because Harry Kane's all-round game is just there, and he gets numbers to back it up, you know. But people could argue that, was Harry Kane playing in a easier period in comparison to the likes of Defoe, Berbatov, and Klinsmann? Because there's no doubting the defenders that we see right now are nowhere near the defenders of the past. So that's what we had to kind of figure out. But we actually went with Jermaine Defoe and Harry Kane as a partnership. You know, and as I said, it could have been Klinsmann or Berbatov, you know, but you couldn't go Berbatov and Kane because they're very similar. Defoe and Klinsmann, bit similar as well. So yeah, we went with Kane and Defoe, which, yeah, as I said, man, it was a tough choice, but we was happy with that in the end. So yeah, let's run through the team again, guys. So yeah, 3-5-2 of Hugo Lloris in goal. The back 3 of Toby Alderweireld on the right, Ledley King on the left, and Sol Campbell in the middle. And then the 2 midfielders in Luka Modric, Moussa Dembele, with Paul Gascoigne in the 10. Gareth Bale from the right, David Ginola from the left, and then Harry Kane and Jermaine Defoe as the 2 strikers. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you share the channel on all your platforms as well. And we are going to be live at 12:30 today. And we are going to be live at 5:30 for our normal stream. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in for that one as well. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.